In this video, we're going to talk about selecting walnut slabs for a commissioned table build, so let's get into it. One of my good friends asked me if I would make a tabletop for him for his home down in Atlanta. And I was like, yeah, of course, be happy to. So he wants a 30-inch round table that's about 30 millimeters thick with a little bit of roundovers, and pretty much from there, it's kind of whatever I wanted for my taste. And I was like, really? Yeah, all right. Of course, one of the main parameters for the table was that he wanted to be done in walnut. So the question is, what kind of things do we need to look out for when selecting lumber for this project? Now, the first thing he mentioned that it was 30 millimeters thick. So we want to make sure that we get enough wood so that it's thick enough without having to laminate multiple pieces of wood together to get that thickness. So at 30 millimeters, which is just over an inch, what we're looking for is 6/4 walnut, and 6/4 walnut is actually 1.5 inch raw lumber. So where do you get this kind of lumber? There's a few places that you can get the lumber from. First of all, if you have a local woodworking shop like a Woodcraft or Rockler, you can go there and they'll typically have a selection of lumbers. Now, when it comes to lumber buying, those kind of places tend to be a little bit on the pricier side because they've got retail operations, not really their main business, so there's going to be a little bit of a markup. Plus, they also have a different level of finish, and we'll get to that in a moment. Another thing you can go to is find a local hardwood dealer, and local hardwood dealers specialize in hardwoods, both domestic and exotic, depending on who you talk to, and they're going to have a fairly large selection of woods available for you to choose from. Now, depending on the kind of hardwood dealer that you find, like the ones that are in more urban areas will tend to have higher prices. The ones that are more rural will have a little bit lower price. So it's all going to depend on their local cost of operations, and that's going to be reflective in their prices. Now, another place to find hardwood lumber is to look around and see who your local sawmill is. And if you go to your sawmill, they're going to be milling lumber there, and you can get good deals on those. And perhaps the final way to find a source of lumber is to look on Facebook Marketplace and look for a sawyer that's local to your area. Like, I found a guy that has a property. He cuts down his own trees that have died or fallen on their own, mills them, and then dries them in a kiln and has the lumber for sale. And typically those deals can be very nice. Plus, in my world, what I'm interested in is hyperlocality for woods. And because he's 2 miles away from me, gosh, how much more local can you get? So do take the time to look around your area and see what hardwood is available to you. If you're on the East Coast like I am, there's typically a good selection. West Coast, I think there's also a good selection. Certain pockets of the United States, the more desert areas, I hear that's kind of more difficult there. So just kind of have a look around and see what's in your area and connect with other woodworkers. That's one of the most important things. If you connect with other woodworkers in your area, either by hanging out at the Woodcraft or Rockler or just talking online, they can be your source to let you know, hey, where can I get this hardwood? Hey, check out these people or check out this guy. That's a great way to go. Now, when you go to these lumber dealers, there's going to be a couple different ways that you're going to be able to receive the lumber. But let's go back to the retail dealers like Rockler and Woodcraft. If you go to one of them, they're typically going to have wood that's finished in what we call S2S, which means surfaced on two sides, like this piece of ambrosia maple that I got on sale at one of the local Rocklers. So S2S typically means that it's finished on this side, and then it's also finished on this side. It means that it's planed and smoothened, but more importantly, when we talk about these two opposing faces, the faces are parallel. Right, so the surfaces are parallel to each other. Now all you have to do is square up the sides. Now, one of the problems with buying wood like this is that it's been milled already, which means that it's already been brought down to dimension. So this is 4/4 lumber, so that's actually 3/4 of an inch, because after they mill it down, you lose about 1/4 inch of material. So if this warps or curves or bows or twists or does anything untoward for whatever reason, you got to plane it back down again, and then your board becomes thinner. So that may or may not be critical to your project. So if I was to buy a board like this that was S2S at 30 millimeters for this table, and something happened and I had to plane it down to make it flat again, now I'm below the spec and now I have a problem. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, when you go to a typical hardwood dealer, you're going to be buying the lumber in rough sawn condition, which means that it's going to come out like this piece of walnut here. So as you can see here, it is rough here, rough here, rough here, rough here, Okay, that's not so rough. These are not so rough, but they're rough. They're rough on all the sides, which means that there's undulations and unevennesses to the surface that need to be removed, planed down, smoothened, and flattened. and then made parallel. Everything has to be parallel in order for it to be square. All of that has to be achieved by some kind of machinery. Now, you can go to a lot of these hardwood dealers and be like, hey, would you do the milling for me? And they'll be happy to do that at a premium. So it's going to cost you a little bit more money to do it that way, but it can be done. Or you can do it at home in your own workshop using either machine tools like a joiner, planer, table saw, or if you're really hardcore, you could just use a hand plane. I'm perhaps not that hardcore. Now, you might be wondering, when it comes to figuring out your project, how much wood should you buy? And that's always kind of maybe a crapshoot, because sometimes you get enough, sometimes you don't. It's better to have more than it is to have less. But if you have more, then you're spending all this extra money and you don't really have a way to use it. And the last thing anyone needs is more scraps piling up in your shop. But since it's a 30-inch round table, I figured that we're going to be able to cut things out. And let's say we cut it out of a big square of wood. Let's calculate that square to be 36 by 36. So now if we take 36 by 36, which will give us the square footage of it or whatever, and then we take that and multiply that by 1.5, which is the thickness of the wood that we're buying, the 6/4. Then divide that number, which is I think 1944. Then we divide that number 1944 by 144, which is the calculation for square feet, right? That gives us a total of 13.5 board feet that we're going to need at a very minimum. Now, if that doesn't make sense, please let me know down in the comments down below and be like, hey, I don't really understand that. Could you please explain it again? We'll make a short. So at the absolute minimum, I need 13.5 board feet of material. At the end of the day, I ended up buying 2 boards that equal about 19.5 board feet. And then I bought a little bit extra just in case things go haywire. So let's go have a look at them. Here's our wood. These are our 3 boards. This board here and this board here are our 2 main boards that are going to make up 9.2 plus 10.8 board feet. Now, I've calculated the board feet for each of these by measuring the widths at different points and kind of taking an average of those widths and then multiplying it by the length, which in this particular board is 80 and this one is 94. And then coming up by using that same calculation, width times length times thickness divided by 144 is your board feet. Here's the thing, if you look carefully at our boards, you're gonna see some details about it. Like you're gonna see that the color is darker here and lighter. This is what we call the heartwood. The darker part is the heartwood. The lighter part is called the sapwood. In some species, you don't want this at all because the sapwood will tend to be very soft and will deteriorate over time. Walnut's not normally like that, but since we do have this strip of white, this little sapwood, this may or may not be something you want in your project. So if we don't want any sapwood at all, we're gonna have to cut it like right here and lose, what, 4 or 5 inches worth of material pretty much all the way down the board. And that's true on both pieces because these are actually matching pieces. This piece is on top of this one, right? So they could be book matched if we wanted to. Let's look at the colors. You can see here that we've got white, we've got a little bit of orangey, we've got some kind of even like brown but purplish, and maybe even like a tints of green. Like there's some really interesting colors in the walnut. It actually has a little bit of different color when you first mill it, but then it kind of goes away. It looks a little more green. I actually picked this up back in February of 2026. It's now June of 2026, so they've been acclimatizing here in the wood shop for the last 4 or 5 months. I got these 2 because they're matching and they're relatively straight grain, right? You can see the grain, they're really interesting, but overall they're kind of straight. We're not having too much. There's a little bit of maybe cathedraling here, a little bit there. That could be interesting. For me personally, when it comes to selecting woods, I really prefer more interesting looking patterns. But overall, these 2 boards are relatively straight grain, which is a really nice thing. A lot of people like that. And there's not really any knots. Now this 3rd board that I have, this is more close to the edge of the tree, right by the trunk. Remember trees are cylindrical. This is kind of a slice from the edge. So you can see that there's some kind of there must have been some kind of formation of a what do you call that? A branch here. So, but we're not right where the branch is, so it's further out. So it depends on what you're trying to do, as far as what you want to select and what the specifications you're going to have. You can see here there's more sapwood and less of the heartwood on this board. So if we were to use that, you can see I marked here. It's 8 inches wide right there. Now, another feature or defect, depending on how you look at it, that you may find in the wood is what we call checking. And checking are basically cracks. You can see there's a little crack here, there's a crack there, there's a bigger crack right there, cracks down here. These both have checks that are at the bottoms of these boards that are pretty wide now. There's one here as well. So these are checks that happen during the drying phase. It may or may not be something that you want to have. You could probably, select another board that doesn't have the checks, or you can use it as a feature. It all depends on what you like. I kind of like checks in objects. I like to have, some kind of bow tie and cross member. I think it could be very interesting. Or what you could do if you don't want to use them is, and maybe we might have to do that here, is we're going to cut these thinner, cut the check out, and then join them after the fact. But these are things that you want to look at and see if they have them in the board. Do you want to buy the board or do you want to pass on it? I tend to look for the grain, the color, the patterning, and even the checking is fine for me. It just depends on what you like. Now, some people talk about, buying boards that are plain sawn, quarter sawn, and all that. These are just slabs. So these are all plain sawn, flat sawn, whatever you want to call it. Basically, they take the round of the tree trunk, like this little example here, and instead of like trying to slice it in these different saws, you just kind of slice it flat like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you've got these what are now called slabs that have all the features of the wood as they are naturally. And actually, I prefer to buy slabs overall because we're gonna, depending on where the slab is cut, this is all like quarter sawn, rift sawn kind of parts of the tree, or parts of the trunk. So you can get a lot of that in there, but you can also get more interesting stuff, like I said. So this part is the top part because of those ovals. Now, one other feature that we want to talk about is the cost. Now, from my particular sawyer, he's relatively affordable and very consistent across the board, meaning that there's not too much variation. But if you're buying lumber, you're going to have what's called FAS, which means first and seconds, or common. And that's typically what most people will have. The FAS, more expensive because they're clear, right? They don't have knots. Like this doesn't have any knots. So you could say this is maybe like a first and second. Maybe this isn't. These have some checks, so maybe that might, detract from that. But FAS will cost more, common will cost less. When it comes to width, these are slabs. So slabs, you don't really have a choice when it comes to width. Like if you're out buying, pre-cut lumber, like you can take, these down and you can buy lumber like in 6 inches, 8 inches, 5 inches, whatever. But when it comes to slabs, you're just kind of getting what's available or what's there. So you can see there's some variations. 11 inches here, 9 inches there, 9, 12, 5 inches up there. They all kind of vary because we're taking the whole slab. If you're buying lumber, they're actually going to cut this down. They'll cut like maybe 6 or 8 inches here and get a board. For slabs, you don't have that choice. Just kind of go with the flow. So now we've got the boards here. Now it's time to start thinking about how are we going to utilize the boards. Like I said, I don't think we're going to use the checks. So we're probably going to end up having to eliminate them. So what that means is that we're going to probably cut them out. So if we cut it out, we might, take the saw and cut it there, right? Cut like that on that side of it. Try to cut it really close to get the most yield out of it to remove that check. So once we cut those boards out, we can then join them together with glue, maybe even dominoes to make sure they line up, and that will give us a clean board. Now it won't have the perfectly matched grain that you see here, but it will remove that check, and this is where the stylistic choices come into play, where what is it that you're trying to achieve, what is it you want. Another thing to consider is how much board are we really going to need. Let's say we want to go completely cut this sapwood out of. That means through most of this board, we're going to have more or less 11 inches, probably maybe just 10 inches. If we really want to cut it out hard, we'll go 10 inches. We go right to the edge, it's 11. Now we're going to lose some of here because here it's 9. So let's say we get 9 out of this area here. But then now how do we cut it? If we go 36 inches, or if we go 40 inches, so this would be 40 inches to here, 32 inches to there. I've already marked these out because I was trying to look at this earlier. So if we go 32, let's say we do 32, which means that we're going to have to be really, really careful, really, really tight, because we only have 2 inches to screw up, which is really probably too tight. But let's say we start with 32. That's a pretty attractive piece of material. Let's go over here, 32, this is the 32 mark. That's not bad. We got a little bit of cathedraling here. Do we want to have that in there? And it's split, so if we're going to eventually, if we cut that out in the same way, we're going to have that detail missing, which could be a little bit strange. So that may not work. Now another aspect, so we go to 40 inches, or if we go to 36, and we're here, we're starting to get the cathedrals here, right? But now we got 36 inches, so we're going to cut out 4 inches, so it gives us a little more play, but, you know, 40 inches, we have this, we can incorporate this or cut it out. This kind of cathedrals from the knots. Here, same thing, because this is the same board, right, the other side of it. So you've got to look at the board itself. Now we've got a lot of interesting waves like this slightly, right? That's interesting. Same thing here, a little bit less dramatic. Plus we've got this lighter streak in this space, like that could be very pretty. I really like variations in color in the wood, and like just, to me, this is all very unique and interesting, and I think it could be really exciting. But again, you've got to look at like, who is your client? What do they want? Like, some people want it to be all uniform in color and straight grain. Like, they may not like that. So you have to kind of consider that, right? Like, you could see here now, there's cathedraling and a really, really tight waviness. Gosh, I really love that. Like, this is why I bought this board, even though it probably won't be used and can't really be used, but I just love that. Like, to me, that's super exciting. Like, I want to incorporate that somehow. So it's really about now trying to figure out where are we going to make our cuts, because we're going to have to cut the boards across, and then we need to start surfacing them, right? And like, I'm kind of feeling under pressure because we're halfway through June, and I'm thinking that delivery should be in August. So I spent a lot of time, you know, thinking about this, but also letting the wood acclimatize and rest. But now that we're getting closer to the time we want to deliver, now I am starting to feel a little bit of the pressure. So here's our slabs getting ready for our table. Let me know what you think. How do you think we should proceed? Where do you like to cut? What would you cut out? Would you cut out the checks? Would you not put cathedrals? Would you want to have only straight grain and even color? Let me know down in the comments. I'm interested to hear your feedback and your thoughts on the project. We're going to continue this series with more videos being made as I build the table, and following every step along the way, you'll get to see the thought process or the psychosis behind it all. And we'll finally get to see the table at some point in time. So thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.